Thank you so much, John. And you said it very well. It is Ozlem Sarioglu. So hi, everyone. This is Ozlem. I'm a professional coach and also co-founder of Sparkus digital coaching platform. And yes, it is an exciting topic for all of us. We're going to talk about how to build a high-performing culture that is passionate and thriving. So let's start with first defining what that high-performing culture is. Where we define the high-performing organization is where people are engaged and accountable, and they take initiatives rather than instructions. So for the organization to have that culture within itself, for the people to take a stand and take an initiative, they first need to trust the environment, and they should be given the space. They should be included into the dialogue. And while doing that, they should also have the growth mindset. So they should have that notion of how can we grow this organization, but at the same time, having that notion of how can I grow myself? But not only that, there is also growing each other. So it is a place where there is openness in terms of feedback and that open communication across the team members. So that looks like what we would say a high-performing organization. And now we're going to talk about how we move there. At Sparkus, we provide coaching culture solutions in that idea. So we create high-performing organizations by introducing the coaching mindset to it. And when we talk about coaching mindset, maybe we should take one step back and first talk about what coaching is. Because once people are embarking on the coaching journey, there is always a mismatch of expectations. People come to the coaching session originally thinking that my coach will be an expert, they will tell me what to do, and then I will be successful. This is, of course, a notion that comes from coming from all our development areas, like school systems, like typical learning, where the trainer tells us about some models, etc. Or it's also in our business system, like our leaders tell us what to do. We take instructions. But at the same time, while all this is happening, the reality about coaching is something else. It requires a different mindset. In the coaching, we basically, as coaches, are not the expert on the topic. We are mostly the partners. So we are gathering together with the person, involving in a thought-provoking process where the coachee, the person who's getting into the coaching, finds their own solutions. So there is a creative process around it so that we can maximize the potential of the individual. And this promise of coaching is actually working. And with the research, it is showing again and again that it brings higher engagement, higher productivity, and better communication skills. So we can definitely say that coaching maximizes the human potential. But at Sparkus, we always say that we should think about coaching not only as a personal development and well-being tool, but also as an organizational culture. So coaching on one level, yes, is a tool, but at the same time, it is a mindset. It's an approach to life. It's an approach to the culture of the organization. And why is that important? We've recently done a research between HR professionals and business leaders asking about their organizational priorities and focuses in this period. And I can share the research, the details of the research further with you after the presentation if you like. But what is the core thing is we recognize that at the start of the pandemic, the organization's priorities were more around well-being and remote working challenges, are what I would say the usual suspect of any organizational priority, which is leadership development, was lower in the priority. Of course, understandably, we had issues about can we keep each other safe? So on one level, it was the physical well-being, but also for the very first time, everybody started working from home. So how can we run that? Those were more in the focus. But now that we've been, across that I would say, adventure to a certain level, the usual suspect again came up to the number one. We still want to focus on our leadership development. We see that the remote working challenges have gone out of that top three, mostly because we at one level figured it out, but also it could also be that the back to the office is starting, there will be hybrid work models, etc. But we started finding our way around it. Well-being is, on the other hand, is still on the list, but maybe the nature of it a little bit changed. It used to be more about the physical well-being, but now we see that the focus about psychological well-being is also coming into the picture. So can we make our teams more resilient? Can they, manage work-life balance issues? So those topics are still a priority. But as you would see, there is a newcomer to the top three, which is organizational development. And why is that so? Actually, the pandemic taught us a few things. First, it taught us that we need to lead uncertainty. And those organizations who were able to look into this whole unknown with the growth mindset were actually thriving in this period. So they didn't only survive this whole thing, they thrived in this period. But for those organizations who were more in the victim mode and saying like, oh, this pandemic happened, all our programs, plans are gone out of the window, they were quite after these organizations who had the other mindset of like, okay, so this is a new reality, what do we do with this? And as you would see, this was not only on the top management level, it was also on all levels. If there was that kind of a partnership for value generation, then we saw that those organizations were thriving. So it was not just the top management decided and told people what to do. We were all working from home anyway, so we needed that everybody put their hands together. But it was not only the co-creation, but it was also the accountability piece around it. So once people were taking initiative, as long as they were not hiding things behind the below the rug, but really bringing out like, we tried this didn't work, and they learned from it, then that thriving could happen. So when you look at the materials of a high-performing organization from that perspective, it looks very much like the coaching mindset. There is partnership, there is growth mindset, there is accountability and co-creation. So when we apply the coaching mindset to the culture of the organization, this time it maximizes the human capital ROI. But there are obstacles to building coaching culture. The International Coach Federation last year did a huge survey, thousands of people joined, and there were 3 top obstacles to build a coaching culture in an organization. Number 1 was having limited support from senior leaders. We know that our senior leaders nowadays more and more focus on data, and they make decisions based on data. So when we come to the second level, coaching is protected by coaching confidentiality. For people to open up, it requires some safety, some psychological safety around it. And that requires that we keep the coaching conversation confidential. Then it turns the coaching conversation into this like a black box. You basically put in a lot of investment into it, but you cannot see what's really happening inside, let alone create data out of it. So senior leaders were looking for data, but we cannot provide them data. So in the end, what happens is we have lack of budget. So we don't allocate enough resources to the coaching activities. But I've been a coach for 15 years, and I've seen different organizations at different shapes and sizes trying to embark on that coaching culture journey with these limitations at hand. So what it look like? It first started with executive coaching. Most organizations said, so if we cannot bring coaching to the whole organization, let's at least start with the top management. If that person changes, the whole organization would change anyway. But we know the famous words of Peter Drucker, that culture eats strategy at breakfast. So the fact that the top management changed had a limited effect to the whole culture. Maybe they changed strategies and approaches, but again, the culture is a bigger thing than a few individuals. Then we said, okay, so let's democratize it. So let's not just keep it to the top management only, and let's bring it in an on-demand fashion to more people in the organization. So we either trained the internal coaches or we went to, or let's say, we went to the coaching marketplaces. So we said, anybody who wants to receive coaching can come over here and receive coaching. But remember what I told you about the expectation mismatch. For some people, they just looked for an expert. They just, assigned themselves to the coaching process, but didn't follow through because it takes a while to take that partnership. So what we see over there is on-demand solutions are turning a little bit into gym membership, where people are registering, but a few sessions maybe, but then not continuing the journey afterwards. So the whole idea doesn't again turn into a coaching culture. Then we said, okay, so then let's start training our managers to be more coach-like, so they would coach their people. But this is what happens. Managers come to a 2-day training. They learn the basics about giving coaching, but they haven't received coaching themselves so far. So they don't know how it feels like to be on the other end of that partnership. And they try to memorize questions. They again try to be that expert of asking the most beautiful questions. So they come to the office with good intentions to trying to apply it, even though they are a little bit suspicious about if this coaching thing works, but they are maybe, willing to try. And they start asking questions to their team members. The second layer of this problem is the team members don't know about coaching. So when the manager starts asking questions, team members feel threatened. They're like, what's happening right now? Why all these questions? Is this a test? What's the right answer? What should I say? So they start building a resistance to the process. And as a professional coach, I should say, it is quite difficult to coach someone who is resistant. Even for professional coaches, it takes quite a while to open that person up. And now remember that the coach seat is owned by, in that case, by the manager, who has just received the 2 days training, and they're just trying it out. So what happens for both parties, it turns into a tense conversation, and they automatically come to this point saying like, well, let's go to the old patterns. That was a weird experience anyway. So this is what we've tried so far, and this looks like the limit of the coaching culture at the moment. So at Sparkus, we're thinking like, what's possible? Well, how can we overcome that limit? And our focus is on having a blended coaching approach, where we blend the digital with the human interaction. And how do we do that? We create for the organization digital self-coaching exercises so that the digital takes over the preparation and onboarding to the coaching process. So we optimize the experience for both parties. And we design these experiences based on the strategic goals of the organization. And it looks something like that. We give a set of digital coaching exercises. They select and choose from photos. They can, then we just start asking open-ended questions. They start describing how that future looks like. They start to have a self-reflection process. We show them back what they've written. They reread it. If they have difficulty to imagining it, we're just giving them a audio file to imagine it. Or we're giving them a video to say, why am I even doing a vision board? So we're giving on one level these sets of exercises, these interactive tools where they start having a sense of coaching. And we also integrate the company competencies into this picture. So the people can evaluate themselves based on the realities of their organization, whatever the organization wants to achieve out of this whole program. So we give a certain framework for the conversations to happen. And we have a blended approach, as I said. So we have 4 steps. Step 1 is people coming and enjoying the self-coaching exercises. They are gaining more awareness about themselves and about the coaching process as well. So they are not only having the thought process, but they are gaining understanding and trust to the coaching process. Then they are matched with a coach. And then they have their one-on-one sessions. But rather than spending the industry standard of 8 to 12 sessions, thanks to the work done on the platform, the coachee is ready, but also the coach also knows where this person is coming from. So the total amount of sessions required for the same outcome can be something like 2 to 4 sessions. So the amount of sessions required is less. That means we can coach more people with the same budgets and resources. And at the end, since this is a digital tool, you can track sessions and development, and lots of data is generated so that you can integrate them into your decision-making process and budget allocation process as well. And it is also important to note, I said we are matching people with the coach, but this could also be for developing your internal coaching capabilities. So the platform is not only for external coaches to be matched, you can also match people with internal coaches, with leaders, mentors, or their peers. So it can be a learning throughout the whole organization using the combination of the digital and the human interaction. And where can you use this idea? You can first start with coaching for all type of programs, where you have this large audience that you want to coach, and you have a certain theme in mind. It could be career coaching. It could be performance development. It could be leadership coaching. It could be first 90 days of those who have just joined your organization. Or it could be any topic that you give us, saying like, we have this going on in the organization and we want these people, let's say our talents, all to sit down and think about this. So we can then create together with you the coaching journey, the package, and also how it would look like when there are the human interactions. Second level, you can say, as a second solution, we want to develop our leaders to be better coaches. So in that case, we're going to both train the leaders and give them the digital coaching platform, and also make them experience coaching themselves by receiving coaching from professional coaches. With less sessions, as I mentioned, due to the work that they've already done on the platform, but they have the sense of how it feels like to be on the coachee seat. And then we give the platform to their employees. Then the employees go through the platform and then start having conversations with their trained managers who now finally understand what coaching is. And then you can also use it for your mentoring programs, which are a great starting point for coaching culture solutions in organizations as well. So to give you an outlook of how it looks like in the typical pyramid, for the top executives, you can bring it with digital coaching journey for leadership and executive coaching, but you can also include your top executives to the program design of for the whole organization. So if the top management has a certain strategy that they want the culture to integrate, then we can include them, hear their strategy, and design the program, design the digital coaching process based on that. Then we have the mid-level, where we have the managers and team leaders. And they can go through, as we mentioned, theme-based processes with one-on-one coaching, but they can also be included into mentoring programs. They can also be included into coach-like leadership trainings. And then we include the team members to receive coaching from them based on the work that they've already done on the platform, based on the theme that you want the manager and the team member have a conversation on. To sum it up, we have a framework. We can provide a framework for coaching dialogues to happen in line with your strategy, wherever you want to bring your culture to. We can give an optimization to the coaching experiences. So rather than having these back and forth between the coach and the coachee, more is achieved in less time. So you can save even up to 75% of the time and resources by integrating a digital. And of course, you can measure and see the results. And talking about the results, I should say that we have great results with high completion rates, high user satisfaction, and coaching effectiveness. And we hear also a lot as anecdotal data from our coachees that it was a big transformation happening in such a short time. So if I'm to leave you with a key message, just remember that coaching is not limited to well-being and professional or personal development. It's not just one individual that you coach. And it's definitely not a nice to have. Coaching is actually a very powerful tool for organizational development. So your organization can be more engaged, has a better performance, and has growth in itself. So this is all I'm going to share. And I'm just going to stop here and ask for any questions that you might have along the way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was great. I love the gym membership metaphor. I thought that not having been to the gym for a couple of weeks, that absolutely resonated. Thank you. Well, everybody, if I could encourage you, please do share your questions in the Q&A, and we'll see how Ozlem would like to respond. But perhaps we could just start. Well, I was thinking, because in the previous session with Natal, she was talking about one of the advantages of an agile approach, moving away from HR's traditional focus on best practice. And I think that is something that probably applies in this area as well. So, you know, different organizations, different size, different sectors, different cultures.
Yeah.
How are the, I mean, you know, how do the sort of programs apply in those different contexts?
It's great that you mentioned the agile, because we also think, yes, there is this bigger concept of a coaching culture. But we all know that every organization has their own culture, has their own style. So we start with a very agile approach, and we design the whole process around design thinking. So we first start with understanding where the organization is coming from. We have some insight meetings with people to understand their goals, needs. If the organization has gone through a coaching program before, what was the experiences, what was working, what didn't work. And we generally start from a place saying, like, they're not going to use the platform anyway, but let's understand how they would. So we start from that point, trying to understand what would make it really meaningful for them. And going along the way, we use the agile mindset a lot. We do start with pilot projects, running cohort by cohort, learning from each cohort, and then applying it back to the culture. But we also integrate the company's own touch and feels. It's not only just the branding I'm talking about. We can integrate a company's competency to the platform. If the people, let's say there is a big leadership development program going on, and these people have already gone through 360s and assessment centers, we can integrate those results into the platform's exercise sets. We can, speak with the HR, try to understand what their success criteria would be, and then we turn and say, like, okay, so we can collect that data like this so that we make sure that we are making progress. And at certain moments, there can be places that we ask the employees, saying like, this data that you share here, the rest is completely confidential. It's under encryption, but this data, it could be their development goals, for instance, would be shared by HR so that HR can provide you with the relevant training. So we do a lot of like trying to understand where the culture is, and we design the whole process to make sure that it fits. But also, as you mentioned, Agile, we keep on designing the process again, so it can be on the fly. When we have the cohorts, we can come back and revise certain things.
Wonderful. Well, let's stay with Agile for a second. Again, we know that Agile is very much about use of data and sort of understanding the situations, how things can be improved. Alex has asked, how do you measure, well, firstly, coaching effectiveness, and perhaps I can add to that, you know, the development of the broader coaching culture as well.
There are a few things that we can do for coaching effectiveness. We've done a recent academic research. We distributed anonymous data to ICF credentialed coaches. And the question was, if you ask this question face-to-face in a coaching session, and this person gave you that answer, would that be satisfactory, or would you ask them to go deeper in that conversation? Are they just talking about, you know, football matches, or just, you know, saying something like nice, good, but not going deeper? Or is it really a coaching process going on here? And what we found out was it was 87% coaching effective. All the coaches said, yeah, if I ask this question and I got this answer, that is a good thought process going on there. So that was level number one. But in terms of the ROI, it all starts with what the organization wants to achieve out of that coaching program. If it's a career coaching program, for instance, we can analyze the data together with the organization's retention rates, for instance. Or if we're looking for more about the climate of the organization, we can do the pre and post tests around engagement results. The platform generates lots of data about who's really engaged to the coaching process, who are completing their steps. If the manager is supposed to coach this person, is the manager also involved? Are they having their coaching sessions? Is it like the manager is having coaching sessions with, let's say, 9 of their team members, but one of them who didn't complete the sessions? Then that would say something else, rather than all of the employees have completed, but no coaching conversations are happening. So that would give us another indication about what's really going on in terms of the coaching conversations. And we can also generate the data around how many actions are taken. We don't see the actions themselves on the dashboard, but we see that there are actions going on. And the person can evaluate themselves in terms of their development goals as well, saying like, I reached this goal this far. So this was where I was at the beginning of the process. So they can do pre and post assessments, and we can also integrate the managers to do pre and post assessments of the people. We can integrate 360s. So actually there are lots of ways to measure, to have a pulse check about the process, to make sure that what we're aiming at the start of the program is really happening.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and sharing all of those insights and potential as well. So wonderful. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.